What's the one piece of business advice that you've received that you could share with us? The best piece, perhaps?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, the biggest thing for me is the focus on communication. When times are tough, making sure that you're always communicating why we're doing something. If there's a change happening, making sure you're always communicating the outcomes that could potentially happen, the final objective.
Yep.
I think that's really the biggest thing is when times are difficult and there's problems and you've got issues with the people or products or expansion or whatever it might be, that you're always explaining and communicating to the people that need to know why we're doing this and what the issues are. It's why probably we end up in so many meetings on a daily basis, but it is the most important part of your business, of your day-to-day routine, is just making sure your staff members know what's happening, they trust you, and they understand where the business is going. That's probably the most important thing.
Talking about perhaps onboarding next, new employees. How do you get them brought into the culture of the company at an early stage?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we do a lot with a lot of our senior staff, and also increasingly a lot of the staff that are in touch with our products and services, is about giving them access to the customer. So getting them down to our market in East Africa, in Rwanda, where we have another core team, sort of the parallel team to the office here in London, and working with them for a week to understand who the customer is, going out seeing people in the field who use our products and services, going to see our technicians do an installation, go and see, shadow one of the shop staff for a period of time. Again, it's like getting them in touch with the customer. I think that's really important in the early days, and particularly if that person's going to then go on to design new products and services, that they understand the realities of how it will be used on the ground. So that's probably one of the strongest things that we do early on, in terms of connecting them with what the organisation is trying to achieve and how we work as a business. And I think it's really exposure to as many people as possible. That's really important as well. In those first 1 month, 2 months, is get them talking to as many people, understand the challenges, get their insight into what's bothering them, so they can see how their impact will change the work of others that they're engaged with. So that's probably the first couple of things I would do as when an employee joins us, is really get them talking to as many people across the business, and then eventually get them to go on the ground and see the impact that we're having with the customer.
How, in terms of that, and you talk about being on the ground, so would people do swap, as you say, swap around offices? They could be working at any one of those offices, whether China or in Africa or here.
Yeah, it's pretty common. We've had where people go and do 2 or 3 months in Kigali from here.
Great.
That's a lady over the summer was doing that. I've got this mobile workforce program, so people rotating across different offices. We've had people go to Lome in Togo. We've had Goma in the DRC, which is an interesting one.
Yes.
Not something where, not for the faint-hearted, that one. And a few other interesting places. Nairobi, we've got an office there, in Kenya. So just that rotation, understanding what's going on in those different offices is really important. Often it's related to projects. If you're implementing a new solution, developing a new feature, that's often when people will go. But we've done also extended periods of time, just to really absorb and learn about what's bothering that part of the organisation, and how the team here can support that journey.
How is your Mandarin or French?
Je parle un peu, that's my basic French there, and Mandarin also about the same, about 5 words. I can point and get some directions. No, it's pretty basic, but engaging the local staff is really important. Obviously English is the core business language that we have, but I think we have some 52 nationalities now across the business. Wow. In 11 different offices. So it's definitely getting people to understand the scope and breadth of the business is really important early on, and relating them, making a community of it, making sure that people know what others are doing, sharing knowledge, doing insights. We do on a quarterly basis. All the 3 offices will do a demo day of presenting their work that they've done over the last quarter. They're all videoed and shared and sent across different offices. So that's really important, again, for sharing content and sharing knowledge. Showing work, tracking visibility of work. We've got a lot of dashboards around this room which will show the progress of different people's work, and everyone who's logged into our system can see that. So again, it's visibility, transparency, making sure people know in all those different offices the work that's going on. That's super important for us.
What's the one mistake perhaps you witness business leaders making more frequently than others?
From our perspective, I think it's probably hesitation when you that first thing that you often choose to do is probably maybe not necessarily be always the right thing, but it's often, if you do it first time, it often is the right thing to do. So often it's hesitation or delay in making that decision. And if, for example, for us, is maybe expanding into a market. We maybe didn't expand as fast as we'd have wanted 4 or 5 years ago, and now we've done a lot of expansion recently, and a lot of that's been driven by the need to sort of catch up with what we wanted to do and in terms of our business plan. So if we'd have decided to do that a few years ago and gone for that expansion, maybe we would have been a very different business, even potentially bigger than we are today. So I think it's that hesitation is often something that, or questioning the decision. Yes, you need good data, but also sometimes you do need to trust your instincts a little bit and go with the decision that you feel is right. And that's probably the biggest thing that we've come up against, and we see our colleagues in other businesses making similar decisions. So trust your instincts, be brave, don't hesitate. If you think a decision is right, it often is, and go with your gut, and don't let people who potentially have a second view question that. And if you're the leader and you're the person in charge, make that decision and really push ahead.